being provided by President Muhammad Buhari. First, in boycotting the World Economic Forum that is currently taking place in South Africa. I think that was a decision well taken, and I'm happy that some other African countries have taken the same position. We cannot be talking of Africa economic integration when at the time the world is talking about the role of small-scale businesses as critical to economic growth, not only of Africa but around the world. Those blacks who are involved in those small-scale businesses in South Africa have had their businesses ruined and oftentimes their lives lost. This also happened just a few weeks or few months after Nigeria appended signature to Africa Free Trade Agreement. What is the essence of having an Pan-African trade arrangement if African governments cannot protect the interests of Africans that are doing legitimate businesses in their country? So, having commended President Muhammad Buhari for the step he has taken, first in dispatching an envoy to South Africa, we believe that is right. Two, directing the Vice President to boycott the scheduled participation of Nigeria in the World Economic Forum currently going on in South Africa, and other diplomatic effort that the government is making. We think that we need to make more than bold statements to leave South Africa in no doubt that they stand to lose if Nigeria must protect our own national interests exactly the same way as the South Africans are seeking to protect their own national interests by preserving economic opportunities only for South Africans. I think we've come to an era in which Nigeria can no longer talk of Africa as the centerpiece of our foreign policy. Nigeria second, Nigeria third, and thereafter any other thing that is consistent with the Nigerian national interest.
Now, we feel the Nigerian government that very definitive measures have to be taken to stop once and for all these acts of aggression and criminality against Nigerians in South Africa. And
all right, it's good to know that you are still with us, and we'll be talking on this xenophobia and its effect on economy. And let me start from Dr. Laleko, who is in South Africa, who on-ground analysis of what he has seen over there. If you can hear me, sir, can you just give us a background of what is going on there? What you've seen. We've seen that for the past 2 weeks now, there's been a serious talk about South Africa and this attack on foreigners. Can you take us through the situation on ground?
Thank you very much. Okay, so basically, I think what was happening, what was going on was that it started on Saturday, 31st of August, the current wave of crisis that we are facing. So, Tanzanian, who happens to be one of the drug dealers in South Africa. So there was a taxi driver in Pretoria that got wind of that Tanzanian citizen, Tanzanian national, and then the taxi driver was trying to fight with the Tanzanian nationals that he was selling drugs to the locals who are youths. So in the process, argument ensued, and then fight started. And in the process of the fight, the Tanzanians he said he was trying to defend himself and brought out a gun, which is who is the South African. Now, the crisis actually started because Nigerians has the reputation of being known as drug dealers in South Africa. So they thought the person that actually killed the taxi driver was a Nigerian. That was how, and because of our bad reputation in terms of drug selling to youth, which South Africans feel destroy the lives of their youth and all these people. Then the focus was initially on Nigeria and then later extended to most of the foreign nationals. That is how the crisis started.
So it's not really that this was initially about Nigeria.
No, it was not about Nigeria basically. The reason why Nigeria was at the center of the crisis is the fact that in South Africa, when they're talking about foreigners dealing with drugs, Nigeria's name is going to be on number one on top of the list.
Okay, let me go to Pastor John before I continue with Dr. Lalikan. You've also been to South Africa, and is what Dr. Lalikan is saying, is it the true nature of what is going on?
Yes, actually there were some South Africans and other foreigners who testified, who said exactly what is just said, that the man who shot the South African, the taxi driver, happened to be a Tanzanian. But there have been that, long time hatred for Nigeria. It's just like when a woman wants to leave the husband, and the husband just reprimanded her, she started packing her things and saying, I want to go. So these people have been looking for that opportunity to attack Nigerians, because that hatred, that jealousy, which later in this program I will maybe explain why such things happen.
Now, Barrister, from your
to fight on the other side. It's unfortunate. Nothing can just any act of xenophobia. It's against crime against humanity. It's a crime against all state laws of the land. So what we have done in South Africa runs contrary to any position we are taking as Africans when it comes to the unity of the continent, the peace of the continent, and the expected development of the continent. So the situation in South Africa is unfortunate. It's totally uncalled for.
Okay, now let me go to you, Dr. Lalikan. Now, can you just tell us what's your reaction so far to what the government of Nigeria and the government of South Africa is? I mean, what steps? You are over there in South Africa. What's the South African government? What are the steps being taken?
So, in order to be fair and to be truthful, the South African government has actually, the Nigerian government has actually taken a bold step, cutting some ties. But we need to understand that diplomatic relationship is not always something that one can just take a drastic step immediately like that. But some of the steps that Nigerian government has taken they have taken those steps in the right direction. For instance, immediately cutting the ties with not attending the WEF, because Nigeria is seen as a very, very key participant in that forum. And for the fact that Nigerians did not attend that, the fact that Nigerians actually, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Nigeria, Godfrey Onyama, actually issued a strong, let me say, warning, so to say, that Nigeria is going to take drastic action if its citizen is not treated right in South Africa. Coming to South African government, the truth of the matter is the South African government in the beginning actually have a lackadaisical attitude towards this thing that was happening. Most of their government officials, the utterances that they make when they are speaking to the citizens, they are utterances that are not supposed to be made by responsible government officials. So most of those utterances, they are utterances that are made by irresponsible government officials. Not only this year, not only last year, they've been making some of those statements. And one thing is that South African citizens, they believe in what their government, what any of the government representatives say. For instance, in April, the president of the country, when he was canvassing for votes, was talking in the public and says, all the foreigners that are in township who are opening businesses without anything, we are going to drive them out. That is a kind of abomination. The video of that, of what the president says is everywhere on social media. That's a kind of ammunition to the South African citizens. They see that as whatever we do, we have the backing of the president. And the president and the officials, they took their time before they react or before they reacted to the incident until various countries started cutting ties with them. That is when they realized that this is serious than we initially thought. So the government of South Africa, to be honest, have been very lackadaisical in addressing the situation. Only now they have just started taking steps.
Now, on Sunday, that's a few days ago, there was a reprisal, I mean, over and over again of attacks, looting of shops again on Sunday. What you see to that again happening after a week?
So some of us who are working as professionals here, we know this thing is not going to go down until a lasting solution is found to the problem. So there's hatred for foreigners, most especially Nigerians, and the reason is glaring. Because they believe that Nigerians here are selling drugs. We are doing illicit internet fraud, Yahoo, and all those things. So they believe that we are taking their jobs. I mean, in a situation where you see somebody who is not educated accusing a medical doctor of taking their jobs, some of those things are ignorance, and the government has not taken any drastic steps to address the situation. One of those steps is the fact that every year this thing has been started. I mean, this thing started in 2008, and every year when this thing comes up, no single person has been prosecuted successfully by the government. So if they say 100 people have been arrested, we know those 100 people are going to be released tomorrow. They're just telling us the statistics. So those are some of the challenges that we are facing. And some of us as professionals in South Africa that are foreigners, we are taking the government on. So on Sunday, there's one political leader called Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who is known to always find a solution to problems. He came to South Africa to address these people, and when he came to address the people, then they started fighting again. And I think Nigerians, I do not want to mention tribe, but I'm just going to mention not for anything. I think Nigerians, most especially the Igbo guys, they are fed up, so they face them on Sunday. So when they face them, they actually fought them. And as of now, we heard that 2 people have been killed. But to be honest, we don't know the nationality of those 2 people who were killed on Sunday. Whether they are South Africans, whether they are foreigners. We don't know the nationality. But why the tension is not high is that if it were to be foreigners, you would have seen all those things all over the internet and all, but we don't know whether the people that were killed in that Sunday clash were South Africans or they are foreigners.
Okay, now before I go back to him, now what is the cause of some of this? He has mentioned the fact that most of them feel that Nigerians and foreigners take up their job. But something he noted is that especially Nigerians, can we try to establish why there is this issues between these two countries?
Yes. You know, the economy of South Africa is controlled by just less than 15% of the populace, and they are mainly white. And an average South African is very lazy. An average South African man is very lazy. It takes this, their gin, their wine, their hot gin and drink, and lazy out. Now, an entrepreneur will not want to employ somebody who is lazy. He will want to pick somebody who wants to work. Let's leave the issue of drug apart. They are accusing us. Now, Nigerian guys can do any menial job. And now, when you are employed by these wine companies, all these factories and so on, hotels, they will employ. Nigerians are ready to work. Tanzanians are ready to work. Zimbabweans are ready to work. And they will employ them. So they have the economic power. Now, when you come to the social arena, women, South African women, if you listen to them, they never supported this xenophobia thing. Because they know that their men are very lazy. And that is it. Now, you see a lot of them are married to Nigerians. A lot. When you get to the southeast, get to the southwest, you will see a lot of them. Go to south-south, you see a lot of South African women married to Nigerians. And they tell you that they are not ready to go back to their country. So now, when it comes to purchasing, the man who have done job and earn money has the purchasing power. So all these ones, they don't have anything. And when it comes to their girls and things like that, a woman will follow a man that has money. That thing, number one, brings hatred to the people of Nigeria. Then the second one is that there was no history. An average South African never knew that Nigerian workers, the Nigerian worker contributed money during the time of apartheid to set South Africa free. They were not told that. And when Nelson Mandela came out of prison, he came to Nigeria. But when Mandela died, Nigeria was never mentioned as one of the frontline countries that fought for the independence of South Africa. They never mentioned that. So these people have had that silent rivalry and bitterness against Nigeria and things like that, and they keep on moving. Nobody wants to see a Nigerian because the Nigerian man is outstanding. He comes out, he wants to do his job very well, he wants to do something and things like that. Agreed. There are some Nigerians who are into all these illegal things and things like that, but we expected that. He said something about the lackadaisical aspect. Nkongi is the deputy minister of police in South Africa. He said that what was happening in South Africa is good. That in Ibru, that 80% of the populace there are foreigners. That one day, a foreigner will become the president of South Africa. That is number one fear. That one day, in terms of economy, Nigerians have taken the economy, followed by other people. But that is another aspect of it. Then Palo, who happened to be the minister of Human Relations or Foreign Affairs, said that she didn't see anything wrong in that. Then the most embarrassing, surprising, happened to be Thabo Mbeki, who happened to be the second president of Free South Africa, came in and said that he didn't see anything wrong, that Nigerians are criminals, and that what was happening was vigilante attacking criminals to wipe out crime in a country. How can a man of that stature take the whole this thing? He said something about the World Economic Forum. Nigeria did not take active decision because when the president did not go, or the vice president or foreign affairs, some governors and some other individuals who are delegates, we are still in that meeting. They would have walked out of that meeting. And that is how to make sure that certain things. By now, I expected that Nigeria will have sent back the MD of MTN, ask him to go back. The MD of Stanbic, go back. And that will make them know that they are losing something.
Now, Barrister, now let's take it from where it stopped. if felt that the government has done a bit well, what's your assessment of steps being taken by this government so far?
I've not been encouraged by the steps taken by this government so far.
Okay.
The steps have not been quite encouraging.
Okay.
You are aware that years back, during the tenure of Jonathan, such steps were taken, but it was very decisive. Nigeria was able to make a bold statement. For God's sake, these people are taking us for a ride. We are the giant of Africa. We play a vital role in the freedom of South Africa. So for South Africa to suddenly wake up and kill our citizens, and we're taking this step. For instance, I quote from Senator Shehu, he said, why send an envoy to South Africa? We are the grieved, you are the grieved. They ought to have sent to Nigeria and explain to us what happened. But we sent an envoy to South Africa to do what? To begin to negotiate or discuss what? When our citizens are massacred and murdered in the streets of Johannesburg and other parts of South Africa. So the steps have not been encouraged, those steps. We're supposed to be decisive. I agree with what my brother said. First of all, is to call, because South Africans the economy of South Africa is being boosted by from Nigeria. Stanbic IBTC, MTN, ShopRite, and all the rest of them. GSTV, they're enjoying so much from Nigeria. They send so much money from Nigeria to South Africa, and that's fueling the economy of South Africa. But our citizens who are doing menial jobs, most of us are doing menial jobs in South Africa, but they're making it. And that's the envy. So the steps taken by the government have not been encouraging. And I think we should have taken more decisive steps. We should have taken more. It's supposed to be addressed Nigeria by now. The president was silent in all these things. The president has not addressed Nigerians. Meanwhile, we are supposed to address South Africans. We're supposed to address Nigeria. I said, this is our step. I put ourselves 1, 2 to 3 and said, this is what we're going to do. That's how to go about it.
So you will say you support the chairman of APC?
That's my brother. For the first time, I'm in love with that man for what he said.
For the first time,
for the first time, yes. I enjoyed his talk was a blood. In fact, he was presidential in his speech. He was very presidential. That is what we need from a leader. That's decisive. If you don't discuss some of these things, if you don't take some of these things, also for right. We must begin to take our steps as South Africa. That's the simple truth, my brother. We don't need to begin to play the pranks and trying to say diplomacy. Yes, diplomacy is good, but we must be very decisive. We must articulate our citizen diplomacy first of all. That should come into play.
Now, we'll go on a brief break now, and I will return to Dr. Samuel after the break to continue this discussion. Stay tuned. still on Christians in politics, and we've been talking about the xenophobia and its effect on our economy. Now, let me go back to Dr. Olaleka, who is in South Africa and has been giving us clear details of what is happening there. Now, what is the effect of this on South African economy? Let's look at some of the Nigerians who have signified to return, who from reports we have had that there are over 500 who have volunteered to return back to Nigeria. What do you think will be the effect of some of these things on the South African economy? Dr. Simon, can you hear me? Okay. I'm not sure he's hearing me. So let me come back to the studio while the engineer sort out that problem. Pastor John, what do you think is the effect of this on South African economy? Some people have felt that there are white South Africans and black South Africans. And from feedbacks, it's like the black South Africans are the one raising this violence. What do you think will be the effect on the economy?
Yeah, you know, when an idle mind is a tool for the devil to work with, or when you don't have anything doing, people can call you, let's go and destroy, let's go and steal, let's go and loot. People will want to join. So the white are the owner of the economy.
The white South Africans?
Yes, the white South Africans. And some of them that came from Southern Rhodesia, which today is Zimbabwe. Because when Robert Mugabe took over, he sent away all the white farmers. Most of them, one of them that is Buchan, one popular pastor that is always preaching. He has a very big farm, acres of land in South Africa, where he farms. A lot of them have their farms and so on. So all these things are owned by them. ShopRite, PEP, Game, Truworths, Woolworths, these are their companies. These ones, some of them are into textiles and so on. They are all white that owns this. Then you talk of the winery, then like Amarula, the drink of the elephants. The white own all these things. Then there are one or two Nigerians, it may surprise you, that own some of this wine company in South Africa. I don't need to mention names. So some of them own all these things in South Africa. So if you now ask, if there's nobody to do that labor, then there will not be any production. If you don't produce, you won't sell. So all these things will affect them. And like in Zambia now, Zambia said they are going to annex the MTN and so on. So if Nigeria decide now and say DSTV is no more, because DSTV makes millions of pounds just on football rights. Football right, the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, all these things, they make a lot of money there. So if that right is taken from them, and Nigeria has 70% of the market of DSTV. So by the time you say now, let us naturalize, let us make it a national asset, then it will be a problem for them. Then it will worsen the life of South Africans. It happened during the time of Jonathan, when Ashiru was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. They repatriated 200 and something Nigerians, and Nigerians stopped and sent 28 South Africans coming down to Nigeria for one business and asked them to go back direct. That time they said these Nigerians don't have the yellow fever card, and they were asked to go. So Nigeria also said, this one's coming, they don't have the correct papers, the document, they should go back. And it became a problem. They found out that they were on their knees begging and something like that. I think this is why we should do something concerning what is happening. So it's going, if we now do it in such a way, that's why I said initially that the MD of MTN will have gone, that of DSTV, you now shake them, they will come and want a way of settling with us. and things like that.
Now, Barrister, will you say, now let's look at a law angle of settling people who lost their businesses in this. The South African government have said there's nothing like that. What's your take?
I disagree with that assertion.
Okay.
I disagree with it. There are provisions for compensation.
Okay.
There are provisions for compensation because, first of all, we are looking at every government primary responsibility is protection of lives and properties of not just its citizens but its foreigners. But the fact that citizens of other African countries are the receiving end of this illegal attack in South Africa made them entitled to have some level of compensation. That is right thing to do, and that is legal. So the justification they are trying to bring up is not right. We are saying that these citizens have a right to be compensated, and thank God we have a proactive Speaker of House of Reps, Honorable Femo Jamila, who came up and said you cannot change the narrative of this event in South Africa because of crime. There are citizens of our country who have been ambushed by these developments. They have the right to it, and he said based on that the Nigerian government is going to support the citizens who are going to seek for legal action so they can be compensated. That's a bold statement from a leader. That's what makes a bold leader. He said, we are going to support, they're going to initiate bills and processes to enable citizens access some funds and ask their lawyers to commence institutions against the African government so that can be compensated. That's what makes a leader. So the issue of saying that you don't have the right, I disagree with that assertion. These citizens have the right to demand, because it's a serious crime against humanity. Therefore, for the same going to part of to the overt and over means to supporting it, citizens have the right to demand for compensation from them.
Now, Dr. Samuel, I'm sure we are back to you now. What's your take on this issue of no compensation? And initially, I asked you about what do you think will be the effect of this on South African economy?
Yeah, you see, it's going to be difficult to say to contribute to the issue of compensation. You see, it is the president. I mean, it is a crisis. In such a case, when crisis happens, most of the business, it's difficult to say this is who is affected and this is who is affected. So I may not be affected and I can go back if they say they want to start giving compensation and everybody comes out and say, I'm also affected, I must be compensated. So most of those businesses, I think some of them, if they have insurance, they will definitely get, the insurance will definitely cover all of them. Anybody who has insurance. But when it comes to the issue of compensation, I don't think they will get it right. It's going to be difficult. So if there's going to be compensation, basically maybe the government of every particular foreign national will decide to compensate them. So and that will be a diplomatic relationship idea that can come up between the two missions. That is between Pretoria and between Abuja. So I'm not going to be able to say if they must compensate us or they must not compensate us.
Okay, now what's your take on the issue of the South African economy? If looking at those who are leaving the country because of these incessant attacks?
Let me be honest with you. I've never heard the news of anybody leaving the country because of that incessant attack. I've always maintained that we need to get our act together as Africans. So yesterday there was a news that broke out that 640 Nigerians are prepared to leave.
Yeah.
In South Africa we have close to 80,000 Nigerians. In South Africa. So if only 640 of us wants to leave, it means nothing has happened to us yet. If you understand what I'm saying. Out of 80,000, less than 1,000, only less than 1,000 wants to leave. We have to be honest with ourselves. The government of both countries has to find a solution to the crisis. So they are beating us, we keep on complaining, but we are not willing to leave. It means they are not beating us.
Okay, so that means that there's no hope for those who are even trying to come. Maybe that's why.
So
Can you hear me?
I don't think this thing, yes, this thing doesn't have effect on the economy for now, but it has it's damaging the reputation of the country for now. You see, this is how we know whether there's a problem on the economy or not. South African exchange rates react to anything that is happening within the country. So if anything happens, for instance, if the government, if the president changes a minister, for instance, if the market does not like it, the exchange rate goes high and the price of commodity goes up. So at the moment, there's no statistics that has come up and say this is the effect on the economy, because this thing happened in less than 2 weeks. We won't be able to take stock now. Maybe in a month's time, in about 3 months' time, that is a quarter of a year, we should be able to take stock. But for now, the rand is actually gaining weight. So we can't say this is the effect it has on the economy. But basically, it has a damaging reputation on the country itself.
Okay, now, Pastor John, look at the analysis of those who wants to leave, and Dr. Lincoln is feeling that we have not been well hit yet.
Yes. I think with what happened on Sunday, if you use the Nigerian parlance, do me, I do you, I think there will be sanity in South Africa. Because the language the South African man understands. Because an average South African man goes in his pocket with a jackknife. Jackknife is that knife that has about 3 sharp edges, 3 knives. The one for milk, the one to cut other things, the one to open up something. So they use it, and they use it to fight. And they carry sticks right from the time of apartheid, especially when you come of the southwestern, which we call Soweto. At that time when they were fighting, they go with arms to fight the white. When the white are killing them with guns, they use those things. So if Nigerians, some of them which I know are armed, and they use that arm, by the time they kill 1 or 2 people, they know that these people are dangerous people. That they have something that is stronger than a knife and things like that. So if they kill 1 other national and 10 of them are killed, they'll be very careful. It will not be a thing that is on continual basis. This issue of xenophobia started in 1862 in Transvaal. It's not today that it started. It started in Transvaal a long time ago. So they are used to killing, this killing. In 2008 May, they did that. In 2012, they did that. In 2015, they did that. And after they will say no. Where a man called Goodman from Malawi was stoned to death by South Africans. I think that was in May 2008. The man was stoned to death. So it has been coming. And now the thing is coming now. But if they are attacked, it will reduce their embarrassing Nigerians. It's for Nigerians now to stay together and do what? Attack them. There's no point living. If you are staying in Mpulamanga or you are staying in Gauteng, especially in that suburb of Joburg, that's Johannesburg, where a lot of people, you don't stay with them. Let Nigerians find like that Hebrew, which they are afraid of, where you have 80% of the populace as foreigners. They can't go there, because if you come, let us learn to live together. And when we live together, we'll be able to do something. Now,
Barrister Gibson, someone has asked that those who are coming back to Nigeria, what are they coming to do?
Very good question. It's such a fortunate situation, because people say running from is it pillar to post or something like that. Yeah, because even our country, Nigeria, as it stands now, it's not the best of a country. You agree with me? And most of the citizens prefer to stay in South Africa
and die international death.
Yes, and
be killed by a herdsman.
Yes, because back here, so many things is wrong with the country. So many things. So for them, well, like you said, some people are particularly they want to come back to Nigeria through the initiative of the federal government and the APs and the rest of them, which is quite good. But then they're going to face a new reality. The reality of Nigeria as it stands is working. It's not working. The country is faced with threats of political issues, social, economic, and political issues. So many of them prefer to still stay in South Africa and see how they can be able to sort themselves out. So I agree to some extent. Well, for me, to be alive is more safer to die in your country than die in a foreign land, even though I suspect the federal government will take some steps to see how they can rehabilitate these our brothers and sisters that will be coming back, and to see how they can give them one or two assistance to set up one or two economic things for them. At least identify this number of identified people. That will be the first step today, because without it, these people are coming back to a country that for them, they left here because of the hopelessness situation of Nigeria. That's why they had to go to South Africa. And remember, they are doing menial jobs in South Africa. I'm not about doing menial jobs like my brother said, menial jobs in farms, but they're hard work, because when they are paid, they send that money back to the country because of the high economic value of those currencies. So these are things you begin to look at for them. It's not really ideal, but the one we connect to, because when you're faced with debts that every day people wake up in the morning and say, go and kill foreigners, go and kill foreigners, and the security team, the security forces there are already implicated in this situation. Yeah. So it becomes a self-defense matter, which is however good it is, it's still not the best way to deal with the issue, because if you are not protected by the country, you are staying with security apparatus at their own disposal protecting you, they can be killing people in the night. So what I am saying, all these things, that the government must make a bold statement that this thing must stop and begin to attack the interest of South Africa in the country so that our citizens there can be alive.
Now, Dr. Samuel, let me take you on this aspect. The South Africans that are there, all you are friends with, what are their reactions?
Okay, so we must understand that this thing that happened, in order to be fair to all the parties, must understand that this thing that happened, mostly when we talk about xenophobia, I want to respond to what Pastor said earlier. Okay. Actually, since 2008, it's been happening every year. There's no single year that this thing has not happened. It might not be escalated as it is today, as it is in April, as it is last year. But every year, the issue of xenophobia has always been escalated. So basically, when you see an elite South Africa, a typical elite South Africa, you will never see them supporting what is going on. Most of these things that when we hear xenophobia, it only happens in 2 provinces out of 9 provinces in South Africa. That province is Gauteng and in KZN. And those 2 provinces, it happens in 3 places out of those 2 provinces. Those 3 places are Pretoria, Johannesburg, and Durban. So in most of those places, these are the areas where foreigners are crowdly populated, and where we have more illiterate people coming, because these are the 3 most active economic hub of the country, most especially Johannesburg. So most of the people, 97% of those who are engaged, in fact let me say 99% of those who are engaged in xenophobic attacks, they are mostly illiterate. Most of them are mostly illiterate. They are not different from the people you see under the bridge in Oshodi, in Mushin, where if anything happens, they snap. Those are the kind of people. And because of what we call human rights is highly enshrined in South Africa, these people feel like government do not attend to them. An average South African elite is not happy with what is going on. And oftentimes they call on the government to intervene. But because in every country in Africa, you realize that the highest number of electorate are the illiterate. This is one of the reasons why it is difficult for the government to intervene in these people, because they see these people as their biggest voters, and the elite are not happy as what is going on.
Now,
elite is not happy. So I can tell you.
Okay, let me ask you, does that mean that the South Africa is a failed state?
Is a what?
State.
government has failed the citizens. South Africa is the most unequal society. And the citizens, they believe in their government. When the government says we will build house for you, they will not work. They will go and sit down, expecting the government to come and build the house for them. That is how South Africa, an average South Africa thinks. So in that case, I would say the government is a failed state, and in some areas, some things are working.
Now, so that I can just release you, what's the way forward? Let's just wrap this up. What's the way forward?
The way forward, which some of us are working on, is that there needs to be a stakeholders meeting. We need to find a lasting solution to this crisis. I cannot come to your house and you give me a room in your house, and you are hungry, and I'm also hungry with you. It's either I leave your house to go to another place where I will be accepted, or I call you to a round table and I say, what exactly are you hungry about? How can we solve the problem? And at this time, I don't think the government needs to be involved, because it is obvious that the government is not interested in solving this crisis. Otherwise, 11 years is too much to solve this crisis. This thing has been happening every time since 2008. So the way forward is that there's a need for a town hall meeting, a stakeholder meeting, in order to find out what exactly is actually causing the people to revolt every year, so that we can find solution to that particular issue that the locals may raise.
And do you see this stakeholders meeting coming up anytime soon?
Yes, some of us are already working on it. We are already. So let me say, this thing, if you look at where most professionals are, Nigerians or professional foreigners, if you see where doctors are, where lecturers are, where people that are working in the industries are, this thing will not get to them. It does not affect them. It's only foreigners who are working as entrepreneurs, who are owning their own businesses. That is where the crises are. And because of this, some of us are working on this to find a solution, because whatever affects my brother, who is a Nigerian, affects me psychologically and emotionally.
Thank you. Let me take Barrister. What do you think should be done, let's say, via the law now?
Well, we will explore the concept with the African Commission.
Okay.
We should explore the opportunities in that regard. Of course, like you said, this powers initiative can also work, but this thing has to go still revolves around the country, the governments of these two countries. Remember, both two countries are the lights of Africa in terms of economic power and in terms of population strength, which Nigeria acquires. So they should explore already the arguments have been going on that we should explore the African Commission to deal with this issue, to call for intervention, because it affects the rights not just Nigerians but all Africans. So within the legal jurisprudence, they can still work out within the African Commission, and the African Commission will look into it and then explore the opportunities involved in it, and then deal with calling this not just a crime but also a threat to the growth of Africa,
Now, in this, what should be the role of the African Union?
Well, African Union, of course, many have equally tried to mock the African Union at the same time. Say, why do we need OAU and bring AU? Yes, the African Union should expect them to convene a special session to discuss this issue, and then to impress on the countries, both mainly South Africa in this regard, on the need for them to designate this situation as a threat to African growth and development, and then say this is our position, that in the event of such thing happening again, will be the repercussion of South African repercussion they are going to go through, in order to make them to know that this situation is becoming recurring and we must put a stop to it. So the African Union will play a massive role here, and I think they should convene a special session of the Union soon.
All right, Pastor John.
Yeah.
The solution to this.
He has said it as a lawyer, but me, I found out that the College of Bishops of the Catholic Church came up with something the other time to criticize, to tell Cyril Ramaphosa that he wasn't saying the truth as it is. They criticize him. And all these ones, most of them at least, 90% of these ones are Christians. So, and the Anglican and Catholic have a very strong connection. And if they start this, we have a church in Nigeria called Usasa, and we have another one in Joba called Zosasa, Anglican Church. So if these ones will now come and say, let all these ones go into their cells, their church cells and so on, and from there begin to see how to preach love. Because you see, this history thing that was removed in the curriculum of our education, both in South Africa, so we are losing touch. An average Nigerian does not know that there was somebody called Obafemi Awolowo, this youth coming up now, except the person is from that region. Sir Ahmadu Bello, they don't know. Nnamdi Azikiwe, they don't know. Some of them don't know. It's just like the escalation of the IPOB, because most of them were born after 1970 when the war ended. So they don't know anything about what we passed through.
The war.
In the Biafran, I saw the first Biafra. And I don't pray for my enemy to see such Biafra again. But because there is no sense of history, people are forgotten.
Disconnected.
Yes, people are disconnected. So this disconnection is all over. Even in South Africa, most of them don't even know that there was time. Nigeria did a lot in terms of helping their country. So if we come to church and look at the cells, let us sort this out. While the African Commission is coming, the church itself is playing a very good role. And see, because a lot of them on Sundays see themselves in churches and begin to preach love one another, which is biblical. I think it will go a long way to see, and also the leadership in South Africa also needs to be preached to.
But I think there's also a need for reorientation of South Africans. For what he just said about 97% of citizens not having access to education, it's just straight. Because without education, you can't impart citizens. So if the South African government can do more in education, and do more in the issue of orientation, and do more in the issue of history, then these things can begin to get back on track, because they are feeling aggrieved. Like Becky said, one of the reasons, one of the causes of this ongoing is the issue of anger. The South Africans are angry. And what's the cause of it? It's the government. It's not Nigerians or other foreigners. And they should go and deal with the issue of crimes. If you identify citizens that are involved in crimes, deal with them, not generalizing the problem. So you don't change the narrative of the whole situation.
Thank you very much, Barrister Gibson, for your thoughts, and Pastor John, thank you for coming, sir. And I also appreciate Dr. Samuel from South Africa for joining us on this edition. And I can just say that all what we've discussed today borders on the fact that government have to deal with education, we have to bring back history, and we have to preach love, which is the ultimate thing. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to be with you again next week discussing another matter. Until then, stay blessed.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and viewers and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the Anglican Cable Network Nigeria.